Hi everyone, my name's Sonal Dave. I'm a Celebrant, a Toastmaster, and public speaking expert, and I'm really happy today to be interviewing Zoe Brinn. And I'm not going to tell you a lot about her because I think it's important she tells you herself. So let me bring her on. Hi, Zoe.
Hello.
So I'm really excited, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here today because I know you've got a really busy schedule.
You're
Um,
welcome.
and including some of the stuff that you're doing for me as well. So
Yeah.
thank you. Tell everyone who's watching now and maybe watching a bit later, who you are and what you do.
So I'm Zoe Brinn, and I'm the conscious leader, and I am a leadership consultant. And the difference with what I do and what maybe some other leadership coaches do is that I have a conscious part of my leadership. So the conscious part of that leadership is supporting small businesses to look at their teams, the way that they find who they need, first of all, how they build those teams, put them together, and how they grow them by looking after the individuals within those teams and making sure that they go in the right directions so that ultimately your business goes in the right direction towards your mission. So it's all about finding the right people who are mission led and nurturing them so that you retain the best staff.
Is there a part of it as well? Because as individuals, we're all very different. So as a leader, it's about understanding who it is that you're working with and kind of just being clear what you want. Uh, And do you just let them get on with it, or do you kind of guide them a little bit? Where does that sit with the work that you do?
So as part of the conscious part of it, it's about a lot about communication, how you communicate with your team, how that looks differently for different people, and your understanding around that. But even bigger than that, it's about how you're then affecting society as a whole, and also how you affect the planet. So it's about being conscious of how your actions affect people in the way that you treat the planet. Um, if you're trying to be more conscious, some of the ways that you can do that is having a more diverse group. And some people, yeah, I acknowledge that I've got to get a more diverse group, get myself out there, attract many different types of people because it'll enrich my business. However, a lot of the time we have we have a view of what diversity is. So we might think of different ethnic groups or disabilities or different genders or sexuality, for example. However, the neurodiverse community is a huge scope on its own. And so that can be quite frightening sometimes for leaders. I think that I come up against kind of like diversity are these different things. Well, actually, that kind of goes against diversity. Putting it in a little box goes against it. It's actually being so much more open and widely. Can't think what the word is I'm looking for now. Opening yourself up, I suppose, to all the possibilities, including the neurodiverse. So I find that sometimes leaders are a little bit scared of that, especially if they haven't had much experience with neurodiversity before, coming up against people who have joined them as part of their team and then found out that they are dyslexic or they have ADHD or whatever it is that they want to call themselves, or just that they are generally have a more neurodiverse kind of point of view. I think that is quite a big thing to have to not accept, to have to look at as a leader. So if we think to ourselves, right, my next I've looked at my group and I tend to have female I attract females who want to come and work for me, and I also they generally white females who come to work for me, and then I start thinking, right, I need to be a bit more diverse. Why am I not attracting all the other people out there? Why am I not attracting a wider audience? So I look at that specifically to kind of have a look at your branding and your messaging to make sure that you are reaching and encompassing and inviting all those people, all types of people in to your business. And it's that kind of there's a kind of almost, I don't want to say scared, but sometimes leaders can be, okay, we're getting somewhere now, but neurodiversity kind of blows it all open again, doesn't it? Because there are so many variants of people. So that's one of the challenges I come across: the want, or the conflicts of the want to be diverse within your team, but actually being a little bit worried or frightened of not knowing enough about neurodiversity to be able to bring those kinds of people in. Yeah.
That's one of the I was just going to pick up on one of the things you just said there, because I've often found that people will recruit in their own image. And then by recruiting in their own image, what they're doing is creating a sea of faces that look just like them. Now, is that because that's their comfort zone? Is that because there's a fear of change, or a lack of awareness or understanding that, actually everyone else, they're still human. They might need some equipment put in place, or they might need a special chair, or they might need some thinking around the hours that they're, in work. For example, they may need to come after rush hour and leave before rush hour and various things, or spend some time maybe doing some work from home and some in the workplace. But it's all about communicating and being open to allowing diversity, whether it's into the workplace or even into your own friend circle. Even in your own friend circle, if you see somebody who's behaving a little bit different to your little cliquey friend circle, then you're never going to allow other people in, and you're never going to experience the joy of what you can learn from somebody who isn't exactly like you.
And that's the key. So I see that, when you do attract someone who's different to you, use their knowledge, use their experience, get to know them, so that you are able to, when you're putting your messages out there, when you're doing your lives, or whether you're writing your emails or whatever, that you can use the experience that they've had, or the knowledge of them, to inform your messages and your brand, and then you'll attract more, and it grows, and that's how we become diverse. It's not just a case of picking people off the page. Like you said, we tend to attract people who are like us because our message comes from us. So having more input from lots of different places, from different types of people, is really kind of quite key to getting your message attracting a diverse range of people.
Thank you. In your experience of living with a neurodiverse condition, what have you seen as the good things, and let's say the not so good things?
So I have ADHD, and I didn't know until 4 years ago. We're just coming up to 4 years now. And I also have dyscalculia, and I didn't know that until I was in my 20s. Now I'm an ex-English teacher, so I hid that dyscalculia for a very long time. Well, I didn't tell anyone up to the day that I left teaching. So I think, and I've been guilty of this as well with myself, that kind of stigma is, one, shouldn't be there, but also is breeding more. So the more that, you know, the more stereotypical people think I am, the more I try to hide it, which reinforces that stereotype. Yeah. So on a negative point of view, I think that we need to do something about the stigmas big time around neurodiversity generally. On a positive point of view, the more I've learned about it, the more I've learned about myself, and the more I am at peace with myself, because I don't beat myself up for it anymore. So I don't hide it now. I tell people, even if they don't want to hear, because it helps people to understand me. And being an English teacher, I'm all about words, and you know, typically of someone who has dyscalculia, I was excellent at the other side of it. So my English teaching was fantastic, and I went into leadership, which is, you know, so I wouldn't be here now if I didn't have that kind of superpower on the other side. But also the other thing that my dyscalculia does is that it helps me to analyze. So because I don't understand, so for those of you who don't know what dyscalculia is, it's quite similar to dyslexia, but it's with number. So I don't remember sequences of numbers. I don't remember numbers in order. I don't have a problem seeing number, but I can't transpose them from one place to another. And generally, I have difficulty processing number. However, my battle with trying to make sure that I can get stuff done means that I analyze quite well, and I analyze and repeat. So if I've got to repeat a number, I break it into twos, I break it into threes, I try and look at it as a whole. So I really kind of dig deep down into that, and that has helped me to do what I do. So conscious leader, I am analyzing other people's processes, whether it's on the tech side or whether it's on the leadership skills side. I analyze who they are, how they want to get, or how they're going to get from where they are to where they want to be. And I'm finding that my dyscalculia kind of helps me to do that. It's kind of helped me to more perfect my analytical skills. And I was also in charge of data when I was in school. So when I was a teacher, I was in charge of data, and I'm not sure I would have been given that chance, to be honest with you, if they'd have known that I had dyscalculia. But
I was just thinking that had you said, "Oh, by the way, I have dyscalculia," they would have gone, "Oh,
that's got to do with number. Keep that away from Zoe."
yeah, no, she's not allowed to do that. Let's give her something else." Yeah.
But actually, I was really, really good at it. I mean, really good. And so because it wasn't about the number, ironically, it was about analyzing, you know. So,
and it's quite interesting because when you said, and I also have ADHD. I think before I had started doing any research about, what is neurodiversity, the neurodiverse conditions, I think society had conditioned me to think that somebody with ADHD was somebody who was all very manic and, and lots happening and all over the place. And rightly or wrongly, that's what I had been hearing from what community was saying, and thought. So when I was researching, I was like, well, hold on. No, this is, so again, it's very much around, I call it the old wives' tale syndrome, where, somebody has said something and then the Chinese whispers, and then it becomes an old wives' tale, and suddenly it's just totally drawn out of, what it really is.
absolutely. There's a huge misunderstanding, not just from people looking inward to people with ADHD, but also from people who have ADHD looking outward. So I was a hyperactive child. That's what my, and I did have that hyperactivity as a child, to the point of manic, to the point of bursting into tears and falling asleep, but I was also classed as a naughty child. So I went through my own schooling as a naughty kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was. Yeah, but actually, I know that I wasn't naughty. I wasn't trying to be naughty, and I most definitely didn't want to be naughty. It was a lack of control of my neurodiversity, my feelings. Yeah. So as I've got older, you don't just calm down. You understand. So, like I said, it wasn't until 4 years ago. I've always felt like, oh, I'm really kind of hyper today and I need to do stuff. And then other days, I'm very, very focused. And I just thought that was part of my personality. Well, I suppose it is part of my personality, but it wasn't until 4 years ago I was working in a special school. I was the assistant head there. And when I started, I just saw my own reflection.
Wow.
The
Wow.
pupils and I thought, oh, okay, maybe I need to look into this a little bit further, and I did. And that has really helped me. Understanding myself has really helped, because I know so I run a business. If I'm hyper focused, I know I can get this done today, and I'm full out. I forget to eat sometimes. I mean, it's not all great, but I get completely hyper focused. And then on days where I'm not so hyper focused and I'm jotting back out, I can get little jobs done, and I can say, right, I'm going to do that for that. I'm going to get that in place for this. I'm going to make sure that happens. And I'll probably get up and do the washing in between as well. So helping me to manage that, it's knowing about my ADHD has helped me to manage that. And I think that a lot of people looking in have always just thought I was a bit of a gas bag, couldn't shut up.
Sounds like me. I have a question that sort of bounces off that. So you've mentioned a little bit about, why individuals, communities, society don't really talk about neurodiversity. Now, coming from the Asian background, I mean, it's a taboo. It's a taboo subject. There is still a belief that, if you fast for 21 days, or you wake up and do some prayers, in front of, go to the temple or in front of your temple at home, and it'll all just disappear. Do you think that is just a fear that has been born out of, it's because it's not religion. It's not a fear from religion, because there's nothing in religion that talks about,
No.
neurodiversity in the purest sense that we would be talking about it like we are now. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, here's the thing. when you are fasting, for example, and I'm not saying that I agree with what's been said, but when you are fasting, you are controlling something, aren't you? And also, when you go to the temple to pray, you are putting yourself in a regular situation and you're regulating. Yeah. Now, even though I don't, like you said, from a religious point of view and from a traditional point of view, I don't believe that is the basis for it. I understand how process and things that you do regularly. So having your calendar in place, for example, and making sure that you're doing the set and having a routine helps you to manage something like ADHD or in fact other neurodiverse conditions as well. So I don't completely disbelieve that. However,
so I think the belief is that if you do those things, it goes away.
Yes, and that's the difference, isn't it? It's kind of like there's no magic. You can't make it go away. I'm proof of that because I've had this my whole life, and so from on one perspective, you can see how some of the processes that are there could help you to manage it. I think there's still a huge stigma around a lot of it, particularly ADHD, probably because I see it firsthand. And there needs to be a much more of an understanding on a general scale. But I think we need to put more effort into that understanding, because it's all very well saying, oh yeah, I understand that this is happening now, or that's happening now, but when we need something doing, we might lose that understanding. Yeah. Especially when you're talking about working together with teams, and moving a business forward.
No, I do. And this is the part that really interests me, because I'm really into getting communities talking about things that they would not normally talk about. Initially it was about, women can communicate. We can. We're pretty good at it, actually. And it's not always just the men, giving women the confidence to be able to communicate. And then the children, and kind of expanding that. And then this is almost my next part of my strategy around just helping and supporting neuro adults and children from the neurodiverse community to be able to find a way to be able to say what they want to say, and whether that's writing, drawing, orally vocalizing what it is, but just finding a way. Which brings me nicely to my next question, which is all about, do you think journaling is something that is good to help with if you have a neurodiverse condition?
Yes. Now, so I'm a big advocate for journaling, generally because sometimes I think we can be concerned with what other people may think or feel about us. And I think journaling is a way to brain dump. I'm going to say brain dump, but it's a way of putting down your feelings, your emotions, and having them in some kind of order without having to necessarily disclose them to anyone else. So, for example, if you are having a particularly bad day, sometimes I will just, even if I've not got my journal next to me, I'll just write a few words down of how I'm feeling. And it's almost like once they've gone from me to the paper, I feel it's easier to move on from them, because it's almost like I've given them to someone else now, even though it's just a piece of paper. It's a neurological process, isn't it?
Because one of the things I found when I was doing the research in the early stages, before I got the focus group together to help me with bringing together the journals to life, was it was very much, it's so different for individuals. And for some individuals, like you just said, it doesn't always have to be a journal. It may just be you've jotted down a few notes. For others, it's got to be find a corner, focus time. It's got to be something to write in or colour in or draw in. And for others, the journal is, mum and dad. And it's like, I had this happen to me today, and so I think it's just, for me, I'm definitely the oral kind, for anyone who doesn't realize yet. That is me. I am very expressive in how my day has gone, both in the good and the not so good. But if I don't do that and it stays inside me, it does start to become very pent up, and the anxiety and the anxious, because even the good stuff needs to come out. It's not just all about the not so good days. Even you want to be able to talk about the good days, because the good days are the happiness, the smiles that just make you feel good, which works right across, the spectrum. It's not just about neurotypical people, it is for the neurodiverse, and I truly believe it's also for those who have a disability as well, that they need to find what's right for them, because if they don't, they can find themselves in a very sad situation where loneliness starts to creep in, and then from loneliness, the various forms of mental health that we hear about can start to creep in as well. And then once you are on that journey, it can get to a point where it's hard to bring you back. So use journaling as a form. And I so remember this when I started my business and I started connecting with other entrepreneurs, and everyone was going, journaling, journaling, journaling. And I was like, what, you want me to write in a book? And I was that person that was, what, you want me to write in a book? And it was only through researching that I actually found out, well, there are different ways to journal.
And don't you find, I mean, I find that I I like a mix of things. Now I have a preference to doodling and writing and that kind of thing. But ironically, like the stereotypical person talking to themselves, you think, oh, they're crazy. They're talking to themselves. Actually, talking to yourself stops you being crazy.
So true.
So,
I, I
sometimes it just being able to express yourself, even if there's no one else there, it's in lots of different ways. But yeah, my preference is for kind of getting it out on paper. It's almost like I can let it go then. It's like, let it go. I'm nearly bursting into song there.
let it
Like
go, let it go. Yep. Well, I have to say, I have to probably add to that as well. My dogs, Neo and Ree, probably know everything that happens in my life
yes.
because I just, if hubby's not around, they are there to talk to. And I would
And
just
it's
go,
right
well,
about the kids as well. That's it's a huge, when they walk in through the door, if they walk in through the door and go, oh, you'll never guess, blah, 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 and you say, hang on a sec, I'm doing something a minute, it goes back into them and it sits there. And there's nowhere for it to go until it becomes too much when it explodes.
absolutely.
So I know that it's not always possible, but having, a little bit of time at those pressure points in the day, whether it's coming home from school or getting up in the morning or whatever it is, having a little bit of time for them in the day so that they can have their little journaling, their voice journal, and then giving them the quiet time so that they can journal otherwise, like with your lovely journals, gives them that release.
Absolutely. And as somebody who was part of my focus group, and I do have to say thank you to you for being part of that, because it was
It's great fun.
but it was so important for me to make sure that, the right people were in the focus group guiding me as well from their own experiences to make sure that what we produced was going to actually be helpful, as opposed to here's something pretty and you can all use it, and it wasn't going to be helpful. How excited are you about this launch? Because I'm obviously excited.
Well, I'm probably second excited. Maybe after your husband or the dogs. No, I'm excited because I've been a part of the focus group. So, we kind of went through like what about names? What about what would you include? And is this, but how do you respond to that? And getting kind of like all those ideas together and coming up with what you've come up with. It's like you've done such good research on it. It's, I'm so excited for it to launch and for it to be successful, because I'm absolutely positive it will be, because it's a fantastic, well, they are fantastic journals.
Thank you. And what has been so useful is, like even the My Day page, just getting the order of those questions right.
Yeah.
I mean, right to almost the end point where you and others in the focus group were actually, let's make that more of a question mark. Let's move that higher or lower, and so that it's, consistent. And it was so important, because otherwise it would have gone out and not been as correct as it should be to be helpful, because the last thing we wanted.
I think you had a good mix of people in your focus group, but also knowing quite a bit about children. I mean, not just because I have my own children, but also having worked with a huge range of children in age and ability and neurodiversity in the past. Listening to them, what kind of order it comes out of their mouth in. So if they're having a bit of a manic and you say, what's wrong? They tell you what happened. And that's what they want to get out first. What happened?
Yeah.
So, being able to help you with those things was really exciting for me, because I felt like I could really kind of like give something to it, and I'm sure it's going to help so many children and adults.
Oh, and I'm so excited. And as I said, it's been on my vision board for a long time. And then COVID hit, and the pandemic, and me being ill myself. And just to actually get to the place where we can go, it's out there, and it's on Amazon.
There's been a few bumps.
Yes, just a few along the way. But it's out there, and it's on Amazon, and there will be various links around social media and email marketing directing you to where you go. And there's also a competition.
Yes.
So look out for those posts in your emails as they tell you all about the competition. Now, I've got three quick fire questions for you,
Ooh,
Zoe, that
okay.
we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. Okay. So,
Okay.
what is your favorite animal and why?
Oh, it's a giraffe.
And
I
why?
knew that straight off the top of my head. Like everyone knows their favorite animal. I just think it's a mix between elegance and lunacy. So the colours and the patterns and this long neck, and it makes it look like so different to other animals. But at the same time, the way that a giraffe moves and is really quite elegant. And so I think I feel that even though I'm only 5 foot tall, I feel a bit of a giraffe sometimes. So that's why it's my favorite animal.
Absolutely love it. If you could do one thing, just one thing to change the world to be a better place, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's such a difficult question. There are so many things. I think I would do whatever it takes to create a more accepting society, as in general.
I think that's a perfect answer because I think it's so important.
It's
If we
so many
had that.
things.
Oh no, absolutely. And that was really well thought through in that one sentence, because a lot of what happens in society is because of people's lack of understanding, lack of awareness, lack of acceptance. And I think as much as we say it starts from children, actually adults need to be up there in the front first, because we have, as adults, we have the chance to change things. Children are still growing up. And the third question, who is your favorite superhero and why?
Batman.
And why?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think he I don't know actually. It's really difficult. So I suppose it's probably because I was going to say because he lives in a cave. It's not. I haven't got like don't particularly like caves, but he quite likes his solitude.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so he likes to be on his own, and has had trauma that he's dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
but also needs to get out there in the action every so often and really help people to save the world. Yeah, get rid of the bad guys. So I suppose it's his solitude outside of his superhero that probably makes him my favorite superhero.
Oh, thank you. Zoe, thank you so much for taking your time today to be interviewed and sharing your experiences, because it's so
Yeah.
important that people hear real life
Mm.
experiences and not just what they think it might be like, that actually they learn from people who are living it every day, but also who are making a successful life without sort of feeling like they've got to hide under the table and not share it. So I'm going to retire you to the waiting room,
Thank you
and
very much.
do stay there, as I would love to have a quick chat as I sign off to with everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So, everyone, that was Zoe Brinn, the conscious leader who herself lives with a neurodiverse condition but is leading an absolutely successful life. Down to earth, very happy, but just like all of us, will have good days, will have not so good days, but is not going to let her neurodiverse condition stop her from doing what she wants to do in life. And I think that's the message that we all should be taking back to our own lives, to our children, to our families, and to society as a whole. Whatever it is in life you have, whatever it is that you're going through in life, or whatever condition that you have to deal with on a daily basis, it's up to you to learn how to manage it and find ways, whether that might be some quiet time, some busy time, some social time, or just not being social time. It's your life, it's your choice, but make the most of it, because we really do only have one life. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I will be having another interview at 9 o'clock tonight. So please do join in there. Take care. Speak to you soon. I'm Sonal Dave, award-winning Celebrant, Toastmaster and public speaking expert, signing off for now. Bye.